Hey, what you reading for?
Hello, beautiful people of YouTube. Welcome to my channel where I talk about books, literary, horror, classics, and contemporary. In this video, one of my favorite authors working today, Emma Donoghue. A prolific writer, one who has put out quite a wide variety of work, plays, short stories, novels, middle grade, adult, historical fiction. She is a very talented writer and, as a bonus, quite a lovely person too, whom I do not know very well, but based on brief interactions I've had with her, very lovely and undoubtedly a very talented writer. I have enjoyed her work for many years, and in this video I have selected 5 of her books I want to tell you about, and hopefully this will encourage you to check out her work if you haven't already. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Your support is much appreciated. Today's video is brought to you by EDIFICE COMPLEX. Karim, an Algerian immigrant in Paris, has his slim hold on reality further jeopardized when he develops an obsessive erotic relationship with a residential building set for demolition. EDIFICE COMPLEX is the literary horror hybrid that redefines what is meant by homesick. This is my most recent book, available through Amazon as ebook or paperback. Get yourself a copy. It is a great way to support the channel, and I think a pretty good book too. I'll leave links in the description box below. Thank you for your support. Let's roll the intro sequence, and I'll see you on the other side for my top 5 books from Emma Donoghue. Coming in at number 5 is a short story collection from 2002, The Woman Who Gave Birth to Rabbits. This is a collection of historical fiction, very inventive, highly entertaining. The titular story, The Woman Who Gave Birth to Rabbits, is about a poor Irish woman who tries to convince people that she literally gives birth to literal rabbits. She thinks that this ruse will bring her fame and sorely needed money. One thing I love about this collection is that each story is accompanied with author notes that describe the real-life events that inspired the story and how she went about researching them and how she altered them to create her own stories. I read this book many years ago, but some of the stories have taken up residence in my head in a good way. So if you like historical fiction and short stories, I give The Woman Who Gave Birth to Rabbits a high recommendation. At number 4, The Sealed Letter, a novel of historical fiction from 2008. Set in England a few years after divorce was legalized, and with it the implications and conflicts that this newfound freedom brought about. Like a lot of her work, The Sealed Letter is based on a real-life event, a scandal that gripped England in 1864. In 1864, things were not so easy for women. They were excluded to a large extent from the job market. They were, to a large extent, reliant on men for their basic needs. So if a woman were to get divorced, that would, for all intents and purposes, condemn her to poverty and misery. In The Sealed Letter, the protagonist, she runs a printing press, and because she is a single woman with responsibility, the feminist groups of the time, they solicit her to print the pamphlets for their cause, for their movement, which she does for business, not necessarily out of solidarity with the movements. And meanwhile, her best friend has an affair. Her husband finds out and decides he is going to divorce her. Because she is guilty of infidelity, she would be divorced and be cast into misery. So she tries to convince her friend, the woman who runs a printing press, she tries to convince her to lie and say that her husband made advances on her. And that way, both parties are guilty. The divorce will still go through, but at least she will be left with some kind of settlement instead of nothing. This is something that Emma Donoghue does expertly well. Creates believable, nuanced characters and then have them face moral dilemmas, or in this case, several moral dilemmas. Her books thus make for excellent book club reading, as when you finish the book, you're going to want to talk with people about them. What would you do in this case? What do you think of how the protagonist handled the dilemma, etc.? As is the case in all her books, or at least all the ones I have read, the book contains an appendix which talks about the real life event that the book was inspired from. Very interesting stuff. At number 3, Room from 2010. Room is probably Emma Donoghue's most famous book, thanks to the hit movie adaptation. I have not seen the movie, so I cannot offer an opinion on it or offer any comparisons. I would say that Room, however, is probably the most un-Emma Donoghue of all her books. It is not historical fiction. It does not feature any gay or lesbian characters. Instead, Room is about a young woman who has been kidnapped and she is confined to live in a small room. And she gives birth to a son while in captivity. So we get the perspective of her young son, for whom the room is his entire world. Not an easy read, but truly a fascinating one and extremely well done. At number 2, Selected Plays, a collection of 5 of Emma Donoghue's plays from early in her career, and this collection came out in 2015. I do like to read plays, and this collection features probably my favorite play of all time, Ladies and Gentlemen, which I talk about more in depth in my video, Books That Made Me Cry. Most of the plays deal with the difficulties and hardships that society imposes on gay women. Now, thanks to Emma Donoghue, lesbian historical fiction is a genre that I am very much interested in. 100 years ago, or even earlier, things were not so easy for women, and even more so for gay women. Imagine your freedoms are extremely limited. You are excluded to a large extent from the workforce. You are relegated to a second-class citizen based solely on your gender. And then imagine you fall in love with another woman, but society works aggressively to prohibit you from expressing or living that love. It is not a good situation, but it is an excellent recipe for drama in a work of fiction. Society forbidding people from expressing and living their love is baffling, as if we live in a world that suffers from a surplus of love and we have to ration it out lest we end up with too much love going around and too many people living happy lives. It is madness, but it does make for compelling stories, tragedy and injustice, heartbreak and resilience. This collection of plays is a great example of that. If you do enjoy reading plays, I highly recommend checking out this excellent collection. And coming in at the number 1 spot as my favorite book from Emma Donoghue, The Wonder from 2016. Compelling characters, a vivid setting with political and religious conflict, and a fascinating moral dilemma that should make for a lively discussion in book clubs. In The Wonder, we have an English nurse back in the 1800s who takes a job in a remote village in Ireland. She thinks she's been hired to look after a young girl, which is kind of true, but when she arrives, she realizes that there is more to the situation than she bargained for. And her qualifications as a nurse may not be the main reason she was brought to Ireland. Turns out that in this remote village in Ireland, there is a young girl who has not eaten in weeks, and she claims that she lives solely off of prayer and grace. So this English nurse has been brought there to observe and to witness this miracle. So the nurse is conflicted. She does not want to participate in the willful starvation of a child. However, if she seeds. This will be another case of an English person interfering with the Irish and Protestants interfering with Catholics. A messy hornet's nest that she would be poking. She can't turn down the assignment because the young child is undernourished and is in need of a nurse, but she also can't force her to eat. What is she going to do? What can she do? What would you do if you were in her shoes? As the story progresses, the more inextricable her predicament becomes. And I was tearing through the pages, eager to find out how these various conflicts would be resolved. I'm not sure I agree with the choices the protagonist made, but I can't imagine what I would have done in her place. So there you have it, 5 diverse works of fiction from one of my favorite authors working today. Have you had any experience with the work of Emma Donoghue? What is your favorite Emma Donoghue book? I always enjoy connecting with you in the comment section. If you liked this video, remember to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more bookish content. Get yourself a copy of EDIFICE COMPLEX. That book needs more readers, I think, and I do appreciate your support. Thank you for watching. I'll see you at the next video.